that you can use to better inform your wagering decisions. My name is Alex Chan. My Twitter handle is Ian Lazarin. This show will be live from Las Vegas from now on. I arrived after a long drive from the Pacific Northwest. I'll try to find us a more scenic location for next week's show, maybe inside a casino or at the UNLV campus. But thank you again for taking the time to join us this evening. Hopefully we can provide you with some winning data tonight regarding tomorrow's playoff games. If you want to chat, you can send us a message and I'll check it towards the end of the show. If you want to subscribe to BetQL, make sure you use the promo code CHAN so you can get 20% off that subscription. That subscription will give you access to the red hot BetQL model. If you would have had the access to the model last week, you would have been able to cash on several huge bets. Game 1 involving the Blazers and the Lakers was a 4-star or a 5-star bet. You would have cashed on that one. You also would have cashed in the game 2 over in the Clippers Mavericks game, as that was either a 4-star or a 5-star bet. So subscribe to BetQL, gain access to the model, but also use the promo code CHAN so you can get 20% off any subscription. And speaking of the playoffs, we will be looking first at some trends from the last 2 days. Now, we do still have a game pending right now between the Clippers and the Mavericks, but favorites have covered the last 7 games, and the under has cashed 7 in a row as well. These are both deviations from the trends that we saw earlier during the regular season in the bubble, or towards the end of the regular season in the bubble. And I think it makes sense. The first round is when there is going to be greater deviation in terms of skill and talent level between the playoff teams. So it makes sense that favorites are going to be covering more in the first round, considering that the favorites now have something to play for. It also makes sense that the under is hitting more than it was when the season was still in play, when the season resumed in Orlando. Teams are playing harder on the defense. Referees are not calling as many fouls. So it makes sense to see the scoring decline a bit as we get going in the playoffs. The first playoff game that we are going to reveal tomorrow is actually the free game on BetQL that you can see without, even if you have not subscribed to BetQL, you will gain access. You can see what the model has to say about the Pacers and Heat tomorrow. The Heat are 5-point favorites. The over-under is 214. The model is suggesting the model has rated a 3-star play on the Pacers. The model has the Pacers as 2.5-point underdogs. So it sees some value in terms of taking the points with the Pacers. And the model also has a 4-star play on the over. The model has a total at 217. So the model does find some value in terms of the over. And one thing you should also know that the model is also rating a 4-star bet on the over the first half of 107.5. So if you're reluctant to bet a full game total, maybe look at a first half total of 107.5. The model does rate that play pretty highly. The Heat lead the series 2-0. They've absolutely dominated the Pacers all season, whether it's the regular season or the playoffs. They've won 5 of the 6 meetings. The Pacers are minus 54 in the minutes that Jay Warren has played this season against the Heat. The Pacers pretty much need Warren to be a superstar against the Heat, but Warren has pretty much played like the way he's played his entire career. Pretty good player, not a superstar at all. His defensive rating against the Heat has been over 120 in 3 to 5 games. And a high defensive rating is not a good thing. His rating on the season his defensive rating on the season is 110. So, but Warren's defensive rating in all 5 of the games he's played against the Heat have exceeded his season average. So the Heat have certainly clamped down on Warren. Warren's highest scoring output against the Heat this season is just 22 points. And the Pacers are going to need the early bubble Warren to show up if they want to have any chance of making this a series. The next game that we will review is the Magic and Bucks game. The Bucks are 12-point favorites. The over-under is 226. The series is tied a game apiece after the Bucks came back to win Game 2 convincingly against Orlando after Orlando pulled off the upset in Game. This series can be frustrating for batters because a lot of it depends upon whether Orlando can hit threes. The Bucks have decided to continue giving up open threes. The Bucks have given up in order to defend the paint. The Bucks have given up an average of only 36.44 points in the paint per game since the season resumed in Orlando. So Milwaukee's definitely stayed true to their model, which is defend the paint, give up the open three. And Milwaukee is going to continue to give Orlando an opportunity to shoot threes. So whether or not the Magic cover depends upon the variance of how guys like Wes Iwundu, DJ Augustine, and Ken Burch are going to shoot on any given day. And that's why it's a frustrating series to bet on, because you can't tell. There's no way to tell whether those guys are going to hit their open threes. The Magic went 7 for 33 from the three-point line in Game 2, but they went 16 for 41 in Game 1 from distance. So it's pretty much a crapshoot whether or not the Magic are going to be able to cover or lose by fewer than 12 points. I don't think there's any doubt left in the series. I know the Magic pulled off a stunner in Game 1, but the reality is the Magic also did the same thing last year against Toronto. They won Game 1, and Toronto, of course, came back to win that series and went on to win the NBA championship. So I think that the only mystery in this series is whether the Magic can cover any game in the future. They were close to covering in Game 2. They were a meaningless bucket at the end towards covering a large spread of 13.5 points. But again, a lot of it is going to depend upon how guys like Iwundu, Augustine, Burch, or even Fultz shoot, and that's always going to be a crapshoot. You can help yourself though with your bets if you do subscribe to BetQL. You'll gain access to the aforementioned model. You also gain access to information pertaining to how the professionals are betting, how the public is betting. You'll gain information about line movement. You will also gain information about it's not just spreads, it's also totals, money lines, first half spreads, first half totals. So you get the whole gamut of information that you need to make the best possible betting decision. You'll get it on all sports, not just basketball, but you also get it for baseball, hockey, and the upcoming NFL and hopefully college football season. The next game that we will review is the Thunder and Rockets game. The Rockets are 3-point favorites in Game 3. The over/under is 224. The Rockets lead the series 2-0, and the Oklahoma City Thunder have been making their ATS backers money all season, at least their early ATS backers. But they're now on the brink of facing an insurmountable deficit if they do lose Game 3. And a quick note on the over/under. The over/under for this game seems low. It's 224. That seems low for the Rockets. But the reality is that the under has been the safest and most consistent play for Rockets games this season. The under has cashed in 16 of Houston's last 25 games, while the over/under record in Rockets games without Russell Westbrook is 6-10, and there was one push. Russell Westbrook will not be playing in Game 3, and right now, what's been going on in this series is the Rockets have just overwhelmed the Thunder from the 3-point line. Houston is plus 45 from 3 through the first 2 games, so they've hit 15 more 3-pointers than Oklahoma City. Interestingly enough, the Thunder actually outshot the Rockets from the 3-point line during their regular season series. The Thunder were plus 27 from the 3-point line. They hit 9 more threes than Houston in their regular season matchup, and that probably explains why the Thunder took 2 to 3 games. Now, it should be, ironic enough, perhaps Russell Westbrook missing this series is actually hurting the Thunder more because the Rockets, Westbrook has never been a good 3-point shooter in his career, and the Rockets are getting 3-pointers from players who are better shooters than Westbrook. The first 2 games were played at a pace that would have reminded a lot of people of how the Rockets played last season before Westbrook. The pace in Game 1 was 98. pace in game 2 was 94. And you know Harden loves it when the pace slows down. The Thunder are going to have to figure out a way to get to stay close in the minutes played by Chris Paul, because the Oklahoma City is now minus 43 in the minutes that Paul has played in the first 2 playoff games. They were at plus 31 with Paul in the 3 regular season games in his minutes, but Oklahoma City should try to run on Houston. Oklahoma City has a lot of young athletes who can exploit their athleticism advantage over Houston's older and slower players. Players like Dort, Baisley. I mean, these guys are young guys. They should be able to push the pace. But the challenge is that a guy like Paul, he also prefers a half-court style, slow-paced game. So it's going to be interesting to see if Billy Donovan can find a balance between trying to run and increase and speed up the pace of the game with Paul's desire to slow the game to a half-court style contest. But they certainly haven't found the first 2 games, as they have lost the Paul minutes by an astounding 43 points in the first 2 games. The final game that we will review is the Blazers and the Lakers. The Lakers are 7-point favorites. The over-under in this game is 225. The Lakers rebounded in game 2 with a convincing victory. That series is now tied a game apiece. The Lakers defense has been absolutely terrific in the first 2 games. The Blazers have not had back-to-back games this season where they have failed to score over 100 points, and Lakers just held one of the most high-powered offenses throughout the course of the regular season, not just in Orlando, but throughout the course of the regular season they prevented Portland from scoring 100 points in both games. So I know LA's offense has taken a lot of grief for the way they've played and for the way they've shot from the 3-point line, but they did outscore the Blazers significantly from the 3-point line in the last game. So we'll see if this is a trend that continues. The under has been hit in both games, and that's a testament to how well the Lakers defense is playing right now. Before we sign off, I want to remind you again of the promo code that's available to you. The promo code is my last name. If you use that promo code, you'll get 20% off all BetQL subscriptions. You want to go to the website at betql.co. There's a lot of free information available if you want to check it out before you make a decision on your subscription. You can choose the subscription that works best for you, whether it's weekly, monthly, or yearly. But definitely go subscribe if you can. You'll get 20% off any BetQL subscription if you use the promo code Chan. Check out the website, betql.co, to see what you can get a taste of what you're getting. But you get the whole gamut of everything if you do subscribe. You'll also get access to game simulations, and that's the type of data that you need to make winning plus EV betting decisions. So thank you for joining me this evening. It's been a long day for me, but I know that for those of you who are watching, you're watching at a pretty late time, whether it's in the West Coast or if you're out east. The Big Data Show will be from Las Vegas from this point forward. Until then, good luck with your betting and stay safe. Thank you for joining me this evening.